Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today we're looking at the top 10 similarities between Batman and President Roosevelt. It may have been conscious or subconscious, it may have just ended up developing that way, however, there are abundant similarities between the fictional character of Bruce Wayne and the very real President of the United States, Theodore Teddy Roosevelt. Some of them may have been intentional upon Batman's creation, but others seemingly developed on their own over time. At any rate, check out the almost eerie similarities between the two. Number 10. Prodigies and children in the service. Examine the rather eerie parallel on this one. Theodore Roosevelt had 4 sons. They were Theodore Roosevelt Jr., Archibald Roosevelt, Kermit Roosevelt, and Quentin Roosevelt. All 4 of Roosevelt's sons served in the military. Bruce Wayne had 4 young men who handle the mantle of Robin. They are Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and Damian Wayne. So what's the odd parallel beyond that? They each lost one while they were in uniform. Quentin Roosevelt was killed during service in World War I. Jason Todd was killed by the Joker while still acting as the Robin. In Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, Bruce Wayne refers to both Jason Todd as well as the Carrie Kelly Robin as Good Soldier. Now, if you want to get overly technical, you could also mention either Kelly or Stephanie Brown as Robin. Roosevelt also had 2 daughters. Their names were Alice and Ethel. So, during the course of his lifetime, Bruce Wayne's Robins match Roosevelt's children in both number and gender. Number 9. They are both noted hunters. When Batman first met Ra's al Ghul in Batman 232, he climbs a mountain and combats a trained leopard. Eventually, Wayne proves himself by meeting Al Ghul in combat. Roosevelt took an African safari in 1909, which consisted of traveling, mountain climbing, as well as hunting of all sorts. Roosevelt was also a soldier, as well as a manhunter during the Spanish-American War. Wayne, in his role of Batman, is not only a hunter of men, but also of several hybrid man-animals, such as Man-Bat and Killer Croc. Number 8. World travelers as young men. A young Theodore Roosevelt was educated by private tutors. Roosevelt also spent extensive time traveling and learning both Europe as well as the Middle East. Early on, Roosevelt picked up hunting as well as fighting techniques. This is not completely dissimilar from Bruce Wayne's early journey. Wayne learned from noted fighters, detectives, ninjas, and magicians. The journeys of Roosevelt as well as Wayne even seem to overlap in the general areas. The Mark of Zorro, starring Douglas Fairbanks, is largely reported to be the movie which Bruce Wayne was watching when his parents were shot in the alley. This would put Wayne almost exactly a generation after Roosevelt. Roosevelt died 1 year before The Mask of Zorro was released. Number 7. The hero as a symbol. In 1895, Theodore Roosevelt and Henry Cabot Lodge collaborated on hero tales from American history. It would be one of over 20 books which Roosevelt would write during the course of his lifetime. Hero Tales was aimed at a younger generation of readers to inspire them with real tales of heroism. Early on, Bruce Wayne realized the importance of the hero as a symbol and a story rather than as a man. A man can be beaten or destroyed, however, someone could take on the mantle of a symbol. It was not necessarily the criminals the Batman was putting away, but rather the fact that there was a Batman there to do it. In that way, Batman inspires others to acts of heroism. This is exactly the point that Roosevelt and Lodge were trying to make in the hero tales. Number 6. Both are from New York City or Gotham City. Gotham City is generally acknowledged to be New York City from the 1930s to the 1940s. Bruce Wayne is widely known to be a native son of Gotham. In much the same way, Roosevelt was also a native son of New York City. New York City to this day is often referred to as Gotham. Number 5. Both were born into wealthy families. Theodore Roosevelt's father, Theodore Roosevelt Sr., was already well-to-do when Theodore was born. Roosevelt Sr. was a 4th-generation New Yorker and ran his family's plate glass business. Although Roosevelt would become known as a rugged environmentalist, he was actually born into a relative lap of luxury. In an interesting parallel, Roosevelt Sr. was also a humanitarian and philanthropist. Bruce Wayne was similarly born into wealth. Wayne's father was a doctor as well as a socialite. Thomas Wayne also founded the Wayne Foundation. The Wayne Foundation is noted for its philanthropy as well as its humanitarian efforts. Number 4. The Anne Hathaway connection. You can actually closely match the name Anne Hathaway to Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt Roosevelt had an older sister named Anna who was also known as Bammy. Interestingly, Roosevelt's first wife was named Alice Hathaway Lee. It's a small bit of trivia that you can actually derive the name Anne Hathaway from two of the most important women in Theodore Roosevelt's life. Naturally, the Bruce Wayne connection on this one is that the actress Anne Hathaway was chosen to play Catwoman in the 2012 movie The Dark Knight Rises. Number 3. They were both effective crime fighters. Bruce Wayne may have had a utility belt, but Roosevelt used the Sherman Antitrust Act to speak softly while carrying a big stick. The legislation passed in 1890 gave the Justice Department the power to break up monopolies. In 1904, Roosevelt used the power of the Antitrust Act to bust up the Northern Securities Company. Northern Securities was a group of oil barons pooling power, which Michael Moore would have called out in a documentary, and Moore would have been right to do so. Number 2. They both lost 2 family members on the same day. Theodore Roosevelt's first wife, Alice, as well as his mother, named Martha, died on the same day. The day was February 14th, 1884, Valentine's Day. Compounding this tragedy even more, Alice died of complications of a kidney disease after giving birth to their first and only child together, a girl. Bruce Wayne's mother, also named Martha, as well as his father Thomas, were killed in a double homicide. At the time of his wife and mother's death, Roosevelt's father, Theodore Roosevelt Sr., had also already passed away. Both knew what it was to suffer 2 devastating tragedies in the same day. Number 1. Both worked through gunshots. For Batman, being shot is simply an occupational hazard. However, for a candidate at a campaign stop, being shot at close range is a little more uncommon. On October 14th, 1912, before a campaign address, Roosevelt was shot in the chest at close range by shopkeeper John Schrank in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Famously, Roosevelt went on to give the speech. At one point, Roosevelt pulled out the bloody manuscript declaring, "You see this? It takes more than 1 bullet to kill a bull moose." The bullet was still in Roosevelt's chest. Roosevelt was rushed to the hospital after the event. It was one of the defining moments in the legend of a larger-than-life superhero. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that like button below, and don't forget to subscribe for brand new videos just like this every day of the week. Also, over there on the right are a couple of other videos that you might enjoy if you enjoyed this one, and thank you for watching.